Hello and welcome to SaaS Marketing Insights, the show where we ask SaaS founders, CEOs, marketers and investors about the lessons they've learned in their quest to grow their companies. My name is Paul Stevenson and I'm founder and CEO of SaaS marketing agency 47 Insights. On today's show I have an interview with Will Fraser, co-founder and CEO of SaaSquatch. Hope you enjoy it. Today I'm pleased to have Will Fraser from SaaSquatch. He's company CEO.
Correct.
Very pleased for you to be here, Will, today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Tell me a bit more about SaaSquatch.
Yeah, so SaaSquatch is kind of a unique platform. We help customer marketers really grow their lifetime value. So unlike traditional platforms that might focus on opens and clicks, we actually focus on dollars.
Great. So how did that get started? Or how did you get started in SaaS?
Yeah, so I got started in SaaS the pretty traditional way. I started working on weapon systems.
Yeah?
No, so I was working as a consulting engineer. And 2008 happened, and the economic downturn kind of got rid of that. So I did the responsible thing. I packed up my bags and I went to Europe. Took all the money I had and just thought we'd travel. But while I was actually traveling, a buddy of mine gave me a phone call, and we'd always known that we were going to start a company. We just didn't know when. We thought it was going to be much later. He gave me a phone call and said, hey, there's these investors that are trying to partner with the University of Victoria. They want to launch a entrepreneurial engineering program. We need another person to join the team, though, so will you come home? So
you'd spent all of your money by then.
I had no money.
No prospects.
And officially it was a master's degree program, and school had started already when he phoned me. So I bought myself a box of like stroopwafels, like the candied waffles when I was in Amsterdam. I put those under my arm. I got on a plane. I came back to Victoria. I bribed everyone with waffles. And miraculously, they allowed me to enroll a few weeks late.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And so, did you form this business like straight out of university, straight off the course? Or?
Yeah, so we actually founded another company first, a company called UPick, which was a SaaS business as well. And it was working in the social media promotion space. So sweepstakes, giveaways, things like that on Facebook. And we learned a really important lesson. And it's called platform dependency. So we had built our product. The entire product was built based on how Facebook worked. But Facebook obviously had no obligation to us to work the same way.
Tell me about it.
So one day I came into work and I took a look at one of our customers' programs they were running and realized it didn't work. Facebook had removed the required functionality and we were done. So,
Shit.
Yeah, that's how fast it goes.
It's a valuable lesson to learn.
Yeah. Now, we could have fought through it. We could have found some other things. But in all honesty, we'd kind of seen the market there had swollen up. Two companies, one Wildfire, one Buddy Media, had both sold for, I believe, something like $400 and $200 million.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we kind of thought, like, if the sort is already happening, there wasn't much point in continuing to fight that fight. But through that, we had really discovered the core nugget of what SaaSquatch is based on now, which is that marketers didn't want to run sweepstakes and giveaways. It was just all they could run.
Yeah.
You know, it's something they don't want to, but it's not where they want it to end.
Yeah.
And we found time and time again, marketers were struggling to prove the ROI, to prove the value of these programs. And so we said, okay, how do we connect those last dots, if you will? And at this time, we had really just seen the emergence of billing systems as a service. So like Stripe and Recurly and Braintree, and these guys were starting to come to the forefront. So for the first time, we had a standard billing layer that we could integrate with. So we said, this sounds like the solution. We integrated with the billing layer. We integrated with companies' apps. And then we actually brought out a customer referral program that would allow a marketer to create and run a referral program without needing to do a whole bunch of custom development and actually be able to show that they were growing their revenue.
So how long did it take from like forming the company, and obviously you mentioned UPick before, and the collapse of due to
Yeah.
Facebook or
Yeah.
whatever. How long did it take for you to get up and running with your referral program offer?
Yeah, so we gave ourselves 5 days. I'm not lying. We gave ourselves 5 days to come up with the idea, do all the prep work we possibly could, and sell it.
You crazy bastards.
Yeah, no, we called it the Blue Sky Week. Those of us that were still in it after UPick, we got in a boardroom. We'd still paid rent for the month.
So you were good.
We were good. We had that covered. We got in a boardroom and we had an honest conversation with each other, saying like, we don't want to just start new. We want to pivot, right? We want to like take what we've learned and how do we go with that? And we had learned a few things. One was that really we wanted to work with companies that had technical resources. We knew the problem was getting easier to solve, but we knew it wasn't plug and play yet.
Yeah.
Right. So
so you need devs on their side.
we need some devs, some web development at least. We knew that it seemed very implicit to marketers that word of mouth had value. So we wanted people that believed that. And so that actually drew us to SaaS directly because there had been some strong examples in companies like Dropbox. This is actually probably before Uber's referral program was really big, but whatever. But there had been big successes and people believed in it, right? And then the third one was we wanted someone that could see the revenue. So in UPick, we'd worked with groups like, we promoted like Quentin Tarantino's film Django Unchained.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was great. It was a fun experience. But no one knew how to put value on a trailer view.
Yeah.
We were sitting in a situation where our goal was so fuzzy that was it worth $100 or was it worth $1 million? And no one could tell.
$1 million, obviously.
Well, of course, right? But so we went ahead and did this kind of brainstorming, tried to take these ideas, and then we literally gave ourselves 3 days to go sell it. And so we picked up the phone, we sent emails. One of our team members actually started on a live chat with a company, and over 2 hours managed to slowly get moved up the chain until they were live chatting with the CMO.
No way.
Yeah, about a 100-person company. So like we did whatever we could do, and we got a few customers in those 5 days, and decided that was probably worth it. And then we had to
So that was
deliver.
your viability, your validation.
Yeah. So that was 5 days, and 3 months later, we were live with our first site.
Wow.
It was rather MVP. Analytics came in the form of a spreadsheet every Friday.
Nice.
Right? There was
CSV export.
Oh yeah. Well, technically it was a database dump that we formatted. There was a login. Like there was a kind of like an admin portal, if you will, that had one button, which scarily was authorize Stripe. So the only button you could do was give us full access to your Stripe account. So yeah, we had some brave first customers.
Wow. So how long ago was this?
It's about 3 years ago, I guess.
You've come a long way in a short space of time.
It's been good. It's been good. It's like it is. It's funny because you don't think back about it in the moment. You're always just advancing, right, one step in front of the other. But yeah, we look at the fact we're serving the Fortune 500. We're globally dealing with support, with sales, with growth. Yeah.
So to sort of go into a bit more detail, what sort of type of companies does your products and services suit now?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, we sell B2B, right? So as a lot of enterprise SaaS does nowadays. But we sell to companies that really sell closer to B2C.
Yeah.
So these
it's
are companies,
B2B to B2C.
Right, exactly. So it's like it's as messy as it can be.
Yeah.
But these B2C companies, we're looking at companies that are high volume, that are transactional, that have frequent purchases, what we look for as well. So we're looking for sites where you're going to buy 3 to 100 times a year, where you're not going to talk to a salesperson, right? These kind of things. So think like it might be like as expensive as a flight, and it might be as cheap as a video subscription service, but it's all about that consumer transactional and volume services.
So do they have to be kind of digital-based businesses?
So they don't have to be digital-based, but they need to have a strong digital presence, right? So, we really still work through the ideas of those digital channels, be that email or messaging or a website or a mobile app. We still look at that as our key interface point. Now, with that said, the SaaSquatch platform is a platform. We have a very robust API. There's many ways you can build on us, and it's actually probably one of my greatest joys is when I see a customer has actually built on top of us in a way we never imagined.
Yeah.
So early on,
You're just like Lego.
just like Lego. But it's interesting because early on we had this really clear idea that we were a referral platform, and that we didn't really think about all that other initial value that we brought to the table until we found someone was using us. They were no longer they were not using the referrals at all. They were using us as a reward bank. So we were literally a third-party database that has basically an atomically locking, multi-currency banking system that they became available to them. And the only reason we found that out is they sent in a support ticket where they had chained together like 14 calls, and they were just looking for the last call to make it all work. And we're like, we could make a single call that does that for you. You guys, this is like what you're doing is insane. So it's really cool when we see that, and that's how we really started to understand that there's so much more than just word of mouth. Obviously, word of mouth is really important, but that marketers today are kind of getting locked out of the products and services they support. So where you might support a mobile app, unfortunately, a lot of marketers get left really with the landing page, maybe a sign-up email. If you're lucky, they let you send some notifications, but you probably have to negotiate a lot with product about that. And their job is becoming more and more about increasing lifetime value versus just getting new signups. And so as they've been locked out,
but they don't have any control over.
Right, they have no control over 80% of the customer journey that actually drives that revenue. And so as we've seen that, now we realize the same thing that made us a really powerful referral platform. That ability for us to let a marketer create a campaign that interacts with the customer, tracks the use of product, and ultimately adjusts their bill. That same power is really powerful for acquisition, activation, revenue, retention, and yes, referrals. And so it's kind of cool that it's our customers that showed us that. They're the one who built on the platform and showed us exactly what we needed.
So you started off thinking that your product did one thing, and you found out because of your customers that it actually did X, Y, Z.
Right, and we didn't even have to build anything to find that. They literally were the ingenious ones. They saw enough value that they thought, well, okay, I'll go through this kind of rough little patch here and we'll make it work. And now ultimately we've gone ahead and made that a heck of a lot easier for them to do those other kind of programs they want to run.
That sounds fantastic, and in such a short space of time to have come so far in your sort of development of the business. So it sounds like you started off as just like the referral type business, and now you're spreading throughout the customer lifecycle.
Correct. And if you can think about it, in some ways, the referral was the perfect Trojan horse. It gave us all the reasons we needed to get into the system, and it gave the marketers a great reason to go to their product teams to say, hey, we need to install SaaSquatch to run this referral program, and now we're there, we can help them with so much more.
Fantastic. Yeah. So on this journey in SaaS, if you had to highlight one marketing insight that you'd had along the way, and you must have had many. Yeah,
well, some good, some bad, but yeah.
What would be kind of a standout thing for you? Obviously, listen to your customers.
But of course. I mean, as in any product you build, listen to your customers. But I think one of the interesting things about SaaS, and now we've been building in it for a little while. SaaS started out as a cheaper version to on-prem software.
Yeah.
We thought in terms of tens of dollars for your pricing. Is it $20, $50, $90, whatever it is. But obviously, as we've seen the enterprise really aggressively start to adopt SaaS, right, and we're still recognizing that SaaS is nowhere near the majority of software sold.
No.
What we've realized is actually the enterprise customer is often really the customer you're building for, where you can go from you're selling 1,000 customers to all of a sudden you're selling one customer for the same amount of money. It's very interesting. We early on, we were publishing some content, doing the kind of content marketing strategy, and we got a phone call from one of the divisions over at Google, and they asked us to bid on an RFP. And at this point, we thought we were building a startup tool. We thought we were building something that was going to help teams of 3, right? And the first phone call, I think there was something like 13 people from Google on it. And there was...
You didn't have 13 people.
We didn't have 13 people in the company. Like, let's be clear, we did not have 13
Get some
people.
bodies in here.
Right. Exactly. And so we quickly learned that actually the problem we were solving was substantially more valuable the bigger the company. Yeah. And so, the mid-sized companies and the large companies have problems that need to be solved, and they actually are scared to pay you $50 normally. That idea, like $50.
That's no commitment.
No commitment. Are you really going to pick the phone up when I phone you for the second time in a week? Can you afford to take my question? Versus saying, like, this is going to make us millions or save us millions, so we're willing to put a reasonable price tag on that.
I think people's attitudes to SaaS has changed. Even in enterprise, it used to be that enterprise didn't want to touch it. It was on-prem or nothing.
Yeah.
But now people kind of accept that they can't do everything. They can't develop everything themselves in-house.
Yeah.
They can, but it's a huge expense.
Right.
And the timelines are horrendous as well.
Well, I think the timelines are often what actually drives it more than anything, because they just know the speed at which their competitors are moving. Take a look at something like the retail game right now. Guys like Jet and Amazon have really shaken that space up. And if you're a retailer out there looking at how do you catch up, it's not by starting from scratch and building it yourself.
No.
Right? Now, one thing that has happened, though, is with all the data breaches that have occurred, we're now seeing substantially more onerous security requirements on SaaS companies.
Yeah, and we've got GDPR coming in.
Exactly. So where we were able to stand up our first program in 3 months, that's actually going to start becoming much harder.
Yeah.
You have to start going through your SOC 2 compliances. You start being aware of.
It's good though, isn't it? It's higher barrier to entry.
Well, it's good if you're in.
As an incumbent.
It's good if you're in.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it is changing the game a little bit again. Where all of a sudden it's those who can afford to go through those security screenings.
Yeah.
And to do like a security audit, it's at least $50,000, but it's also your time.
Yeah.
And when you're an early stage startup, that's the one thing you really don't have.
That's great. I just wanted to ask you a final question. There hasn't been that many questions. But personal growth insight. So, how do you sharpen your mental saw is the way that I think of it. Everybody has their own habits and routines.
Yeah.
It's very easy to just become mired in the day-to-day. How do you stay fresh, Will?
Yeah, how do I stay fresh? I feel like we should have a soap commercial right here. It's a good question. Of course, it's a challenge that I think a lot of people working in the day-to-day of a company trying to grow as fast as possible, you get stuck with the problem you have. My solution may not be great, but what I typically do is I find that days off, stats, are really good days where I come in, I'm very close to the office, but I come in and I actually just have basically on paper, I have a frank conversation with myself. And so on paper, so I literally, and it sounds funny, but I literally
dear Will.
No. It's basically I list, what are the things you're doing that you shouldn't be doing?
Right.
What are the things you aren't doing that you need to do? Right, and you go through
self-review.
It's basically a self-review. So when everyone else is getting the day off, I'm having my performance review, right? But my boss is a real jerk, right? And it's just that.
It's a 360 review.
It's a 360 review. We review all sides of myself.
Multiple personalities.
Exactly, but that's literally the best thing I have. And then what I'll do is kind of between those times is I'll come in at least a couple times a week and I'll make sure that I read through that document again. And I sit there and and I realize this is the thing we said we weren't going to do. Okay, this is the thing you said you were going to do. Yeah, all three of us had the cover. No, and so that's one of the things that's really, really good for me. There's the normal things of you got to be keeping up on your reading. You've got to be going out to talks and events and just keeping fresh. It's very easy to think, you're growing fast enough right now.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you're trying to grow 10% every month. It's a lot easier 12 months ago. The same tool's probably not going to get you through it, today. But it's easy to think you've kind of got it figured. But no, the big thing for me is just those frank conversations with myself. And I do it in writing because I think the written artifact, when I do go back and look at it.
So you record this, it's like a log then?
Yeah, 100%. It's like a log. They kind of all comes in sequence. They're oddly, sometimes they're rather cyclical.
On paper though, not in the cloud.
Well, they're actually in the cloud.
they're on
electronic paper. But I find that act of writing it down and reading it and reviewing it does a whole lot.
That's a great tip. I've not heard that one before.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Thanks a lot, Will. That's really great to hear about the history of SaaSquatch and where you guys are going on your SaaS journey.
Thank you.
And for the insights into your personal growth.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Will.
For more info on SaaSquatch, please visit www.SaaSquatch.com. Next week, I'll be talking with Mark Henderson, CEO at project management software Flow. For more info about this show and to get our links to iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher and YouTube, please visit www.47insights.com/podcast. And if you have any SaaS marketing insights that you'd like to share on the show, get in touch via that page. Until next time.